Hey everybody, welcome to TRB. We are back on our normal schedule. It is good to see you. We did take this past Thursday off, so you only got one episode of the Resistance broadcast last week. We hope you didn't miss us too much, but the good thing about us doing 2 episodes every week is that when we take a semi-breather, you still get an episode that week. So how about that? But we are here to talk about... I'm John, by the way, if you're new. James and Lacey with me, as always. We're here to talk about the latest in Star Wars news. We got a lot of cool stories we're going to get into. But how you guys doing? What's going on?
Nothing much. I know up here at the top of the notes, you got this whole thing about Temuera Morrison getting the helmet and stuff. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, what'd you think about that? Did you watch that video?
I did watch the video, and it's just like, it's one of those things like... where I'm like, oh, it's like a New Zealand thing of... Oh, there's the dance. Yep, gotta have the dance. They gotta do the dance.
Gotta do the dance.
Yep.
A little different than the Boba Fett dance that they had at the Star Wars parks, which was more of like a Running Man.
The gift.
It's a bit different. Yeah.
Oh,
they don't do that stuff anymore, though, right, Lacey?
No.
That's gone.
That's Star Wars weekends. Yeah, that's long gone.
Long
Does not-
gone. Time to
does not
gotta
exist
be serious. Everything's canon now, even the theme parks too.
Didn't somebody... Oh, I know what it was. It was Maui from Moana did the dance.
You're
and they made it like
welcome.
canon or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a cool video. He seems like such a nice guy, and you can tell he's not 100% like knowledgeable about everything about Boba Fett, because the guy was like, look, the dent, there's the dent, and he's like, oh yeah, that's important.
I think he was kind of overwhelmed a little bit, because it's just like everything's happening so fast for him. I think like the rest of us thought as fans, like that character was done. And then all of a sudden they're like, nah, dog, you're back. And so now he's getting his own show. He's doing all these interviews. He's getting more press and camera time than he ever did for the prequels. So I think it's just a lot.
And it seems kind of funny too, like in a weird way, I kind of feel bad for like Daniel Logan, for instance, who played Boba when he was young. Because it's like, this guy, you're Boba Fett. And I'm like, he's kind of Jango Fett. And just through sheer story, he's become Boba Fett too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like... Any other story that would be like a character who played the young version of him when they got older and they wanted to tell more stories when he was older, it would be the same actor.
You mean like Ewan McGregor?
Like, dang, like what the short end of the stick.
Or just a different adult actor. Like there's, you know, it could have been...
Right.
They do that a lot too. Look at John Connor. They're like, we're not going to bring him back. We're just going to cast somebody else.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking too much like Star Wars. Like, you know, they want an old Luke, so they're bringing Mark Hamill back, right? It's not just like you played the young version, now you're playing the old version kind of thing. So
they should have brought Jake Lloyd back to play teenage Anakin at the age of 10.
Well, they couldn't do that at the time.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. I am excited about their... I guess people are so hyped about the Han and Leia Hotel Honeymoon book, or whatever that is. They're going to make a follow-up where after they have Ben Solo, the 3 of them are going to go to Target shopping for Black Series figures. So it's very exciting that they're going to do that in the canon story.
That's the joke you came up with?
That's it.
They go to Target?
They go to Target to shop for some more merch.
You had a couple days, Hoey. You could have come up with a better one than that.
Yeah,
I was too annoyed more than anything. But.
such a big problem with that, and I don't know, just for whatever reason, it doesn't really bother me. I go,
I think for me, it was the line, James. It wasn't that it's happening there. Who cares? It was the sentence after the fact that's like, and now featured in Disney's exclusive Galaxy's Edge, blah 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 blah, commercial. That is what bugged me, because I was like, it's like when you see things, like if you went to Galaxy's Edge and saw a Coca-Cola, like they made Coke special to make it feel like you're in the immersive experience.
But do people not see how that's different though? And I
felt like there was a lot of confusion per usual, where people were defending it, being like, it doesn't matter where it takes place. Well, and then I was like, that's not what people are upset about. People are upset about the blatant advertising line And then I know, John, you had taken it a step further and said it's not just that. It's that a lot of people can't afford this. I think people seem to forget that the majority of the U.S. live paycheck to paycheck and like can't afford things like a $6,000 cruise for 2 days. I
just want to say cheers to those brave heroes on Twitter who put themselves on the line to defend a $250 billion media conglomerate company. Like
I think it was just confusion. I think it was like, hey, does it matter where it takes place? I think there was a disconnect per usual. I think that people didn't understand.
It's okay to criticize Disney, folks. It doesn't mean people don't like Star Wars. It's okay. When they do stupid things, it's okay to criticize them.
James's face right now. I wish I could just have that on repeat on a regular
He criticizes
basis.
stuff too. What are we talking about here? Come on.
Yeah.
But, I need a gif of James's face right now. Just.
How dare you say anything bad about Disney?
No, James makes that face anytime you get riled up. It's hilarious. I always look to James to see what his reaction is.
I just know the things that John really doesn't like and gets him fired up, and it's usually about the park or some book. It's always one of those two things.
And then when you mix the two, it's the dyad.
Yeah, well, there was... Yeah. It's just...
It's the perfect storm.
No, but the other thing was like, people were like, clearly someone didn't know that they went to Black Spire and Batuu in the books. I'm like, yeah, I know they did that. That's a location.
Isn't the book called Black Spire?
All this thing is a hotel. That is all it is. Black Spire is a Star Wars location. So I apologize for those who weren't able to compartmentalize that. But anyway, most people seem to agree with me, and I think that's okay. If consumers can't criticize the company, then how are we ever going to get what we're looking for as consumers? I mean, I think that's fair.
In our email, there's a email from Mickey being like, "You can't come in May," and they've denied our tickets to Disneyland because John is going off on a tangent.
Yeah, please give me a break.
You're not allowed here anymore.
I won't say anything. I won't get into details, but I got some private messages from people who don't want to put their opinion out there on Twitter who were like, that is really gross, and I hold a lot of those people who send me messages in very high regard. And we
walk through the gates, an alarm goes off, and it's like, "You're going to Disney jail!" They just arrest John. John can't even get in the park.
Yeah, and they'll charge me they'll swipe my credit card and say it was an attraction or a ride.
It does exist because Blake Lively said she went to Disney jail once. It does exist.
There you go. All right. All right, but we do have some pretty cool stories to cover in the realm of Star Wars, so we are excited to get into that. And we're going to hand it off to James Bainey.
It's the Resistance.
Guys, we're going to be talking a lot about Obi-Wan on today's episode, and it all starts with something that it's kind of one of those weird spots where we're like, I guess it's spoilery, so depending on how strong you feel about this one way or another, but it's kind of like the plot of, so I almost feel like this could be written in that like what do they call this, like before a movie where it's just like the
premise,
the premise of the show or something along those lines?
The back of the old VHS box.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a tagline that's like 3 sentences, just kind of explains the movie. It's not a spoiler, but it's like, this is what happens in the show. So I guess be wary of that. And I don't know when exactly we're going to pop in later and be done with this story, but from now on, we're probably going to address this as like just something that's happening. But anyway, this is a Star Wars Newsnet exclusive about the show Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's that a legendary character is going to have an important role in the series, and that is Princess Leia, right? So she's going to be young at this time, obviously, and she's going to get into some trouble, and she's going to need to be rescued. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we think about that and how it's going to tie into the rest of the series. I'm obviously going to start with John on this particular story because, you know, hey, come on, it's John, Star Wars Newsnet, right? So, John, what were your thoughts on this story? How long have you known? Why didn't you tell us earlier?
I don't know any of those questions. I have no answers for those. But yeah, this is the kind of thing where it's like that balance between the secrecy of Lucasfilm and what a normal movie might do. Like, I could see this being something shown in the trailer as the kickstart, like, this happens. And he goes on this, it triggers everything that happens from here on out. This moment, this thing.
First episode,
so I agree with you,
sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, James, in the sense that it is sort of the vehicle and not like, this isn't Luke or no, I am your father. This isn't spoiling some sort of massive plot twist or anything. I think a lot of people assumed Luke and Leia would be in this series. And there was a lot of rumblings a while ago about casting for them. So I don't think there's any, I can't believe, a young Leia is going to be in this series. We all know that Bail Organa has still kept in contact with Obi-Wan Kenobi. They haven't completely disconnected over those 10 years. So I don't think this is anything that's too crazy. The details that we got are interesting. And I think, to me, again, sort of like our Rancor story from October, didn't spoil anything that happened in Book of Boba Fett. I knew that story, I wrote that story, and I went to that series, and everything surprised me. Even when the Rancor episode happened at the very end, I was like, holy cow, it was amazing. I see this kind of like that. And it's cool because, and it does get tricky too, though, and I'll get into that in a minute, but it's cool knowing that we are going to see a younger Leia and get to see sort of maybe how she cut her teeth a bit in terms of being a rebel and that sort of thing. How did she get caught? Why did she get caught? Who captured her? And seeing Obi-Wan having to have a reason to get off Tatooine. Because I think a big beef a lot of people had was, well, the whole story is he stayed there to watch over Luke. Why would he? How are they going to do a whole series about this guy who's just supposed to be hiding out, laying low until the moment's right, and training Luke and all that stuff? Boom. What's the only reason that you would have to do that? Because the other twin is in trouble. So that sort of cuts down that defense against doing it. So I like that, and curious to see, again, more details about why she got caught and why she's in trouble. But I don't think she'll be. I think this will be important for the vehicle of the series, but I don't think this is gonna be one of those things where Leia's gonna be hanging out with Obi-Wan for 6 episodes.
It's not gonna be the professional.
It's not gonna be the professional. I like that analogy. It's not gonna be Grogu. She's not going to be the sidekick, the little one that helps out and all that stuff that distracts the bad guys. It's not going to be like that. I think she's going to be in it, serve a good purpose early on to set this in motion, to give the story a reason for Obi-Wan to leave Tatooine and it be okay. I think that's going to be what the important factor is. The tricky thing is, which with me with continuity, in my opinion, Leia's message to Obi-Wan via the hologram from A New Hope, to me sounds like she's never met him before. General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to
maybe she
join
doesn't
us
meet
in
him.
our fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still possible.
He could save her and then be like, Bail, go get her, and then never meet her.
Oh,
maybe
he could save her and be like, she's like, who are you? And he's like, just call me Ben. And she never puts together that that's him.
That could be very interesting too. You're right. That would be a good way to introduce the Ben name. That imagine that's the moment he comes up with the name.
He's looking around. P tier.
Yeah, Griffin. Yeah. But also, you know what, James? You might be onto something, because then that would mean a lot to her once she found out who she was, because she does refer to him as Ben Kenobi when Luke goes to rescue her on the Death Star. He says, I'm with Ben Kenobi. I'm here to rescue you. She says, Ben Kenobi, where? She knows the name Ben Kenobi.
She also named her son that. So Ben...
I was going to say, so it might mean that much to her that she names her son that.
She names him after the savior that she knew when she was a child.
They'll work around it. So it's not that big of a deal. It's just, I'm not angry or stressed about it. I have fun with continuity. I enjoy it. So I like putting the pieces together and that sort of thing. So I'll be curious how, I know they'll work it and I'll make it great. I'm just curious how they're going to do that. So
unless the pieces are a exclusive resort.
Yeah. To find out more about why he named himself Ben, you can find out using this holocron from the Space Museum Hotel.
Yeah, she's held captive at what's the downtown Disney.
Oh yeah,
to go save
Disney
her.
Springs. Yeah,
Disney Springs. That's where she is, and you had to go save her. Yeah, and then
at
they went together.
Trading
they
post.
They got a Dole Whip together after. It was great.
Yeah. Lacey, what are your thoughts on
on
Leia showing up in Obi-Wan Kenobi and kind of being part of the plot of the series?
I think it's exciting. I think we're in a point now where Star Wars is looking to bring in kids, like they did with the prequels and with the sequel trilogy. They had BB-8, which was kind of like a little kid. They're trying to bring in those characters that little kids can relate to, and I think that a little Princess Leia is something that little girls and boys could look to be like, oh, I love this character. I think it does kind of add to her character that we see in A New Hope, who's kind of rebellious, going against everything, like very tough. That doesn't just happen. Like that's a lifelong thing of being like that. Speaking from personal example, you don't just start acting like that. So it's going to be fun to see the kind of beginnings of that. The other thing I was thinking about is that it's kind of cool that it puts this kind of juxtaposition between her and Luke, because when we meet Luke, he's very much like listening to his uncle, following the rules. You know, he's a little whiny, whereas she's like very tough. She's going out and like getting stuck in a cantina, like doing all these things. But yeah, no, I was a little nervous about this report because obviously there are like somewhat spoilers in it. But I don't think it's that bad, and I don't think it's going to affect the overall story. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think we could assume that we'd probably see her in some form because we're probably going to see Luke. You can't tell this story without the two twins because that's been his responsibility since they were born.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Bail. Like, I feel like Bail Organa was one of those people that I was like, yes, he's going to be in this, obviously.
You know what the first thing I thought of when I read this? I was like, it's finally dead. Officially.
What?
Millie Bobby Brown playing young Leia.
James playing the long game redemption right now.
Your moment has arrived. Yeah. Well, she's what now? 28? No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah. She's almost. She's like 1 year from the age that she would. Yeah, Leia,
she's high school age.
Carrie Fisher was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, so now you have to cast this, and she has to be like 10? Was that what we're looking at?
10.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she has to be 10. So Millie Bobby
Preteen.
Brown out. And then once we get the vision of this young Leia, it's that young Leia for the next, 8 year or so years, as long as that actress or that young girl will be able to, if they want to stick her into stuff, they could do that kind of like Alden, for instance, they could kind of wedge her in certain areas. But it's never going to be Millie Bobby Brown. They're never going to they're never going to have this young girl and then also Millie play an in between,
Yeah, Cinelinx had one. They had an actress that they had that was cast. But it's interesting though that we are falling into.
In our chat, I put the link to the actor's IMDb page who's playing young Leia.
It is interesting. We are falling into that thing though that they aren't going past the point of actor. Oh my God, you got me. You might as well have made it a Rickroll. I hate you so
the thing is like I was like, I don't know what he sent because it's not
much.
It's not official. He's acted like it's official and it's not.
But there actually was a name thrown around.
Yeah, and it wasn't the one John just sent.
What'd I send?
Oh my God, I hate you so much.
Say it.
No, it is interesting that they are still sticking by that. Hey,
Fargo.
if it's, I'm not even going to say it. Before, Carrie Fisher's age, anything earlier, they'll cast it. But anything after, obviously, they're not going to touch it.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I sent Steve Buscemi's IMDb profile for the Die Hard.
You might as well have Rickrolled me, seriously. Like, I fell right into that.
Have we done a sticker with him as Leia yet? That's a sticker we should do for Patreon.
Oh my God. Can we not?
I don't know. We have a lot of stories to talk about. Do you guys want to? Is there anything else you guys
James,
wanted to add to this?
Please move on from this. Please
move on from this.
I'll say this: the only thing I think is going to be interesting is I was looking at like Joby Harold, his writing credits.
Yeah,
what a gig to land, because he's never written for a TV series before. And I know we covered this when he was hired, but I was just thinking about it because I'm doing all the checklists, including our next story, which is a huge check off. So maybe we can segue right into that. But like Deborah Chow and stuff, I'm feeling very confident about the series. The one thing I'm like, man, this Joby Harold, they must have really found something in this guy's pitch to.
It's
take
his
over the
name.
series,
I like
so.
the name Joby.
Was he not also reworking scripts? Like he was being handed the last script, and he's like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'll fix this up."
There were like 4 writers. Yeah. There was the movie. People did it as the movie first, and then
But by this point, it might as well be adapted screenplay.
I know, right?
It's been written so many times. They know exactly what at this point. He's not coming up with like a story or a plot or anything crazy like that. He's really just like kind of reworking, and that's probably within his wheelhouse. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, but moving on to the next story is we are going to see stop me if you've heard this before. A big Star Wars composer returning in John Williams to come back for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I say that because it was kind of a little bit of a rumor a few days before it actually came out, like the real news. It's kind of interesting. We put out our story that was like exclusive Obi-Wan Kenobi story. And then almost immediately after that, like there's this new Variety report about John Williams, and it was already kind of in the rumbling. So we're probably thinking, maybe that was released on purpose. But anyway, what we have now is Variety saying that John Williams is going to come back to do the theme for Obi-Wan Kenobi, a la something like Solo, or even the Book of Boba Fett recently had a theme created, but was not the composer of the show, kind of along those lines. So Lacey, I'm bouncing back at you on this one. John Williams returning to do the main theme for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Thoughts?
Well, Star Wars isn't Star Wars without John Williams, and I know he said he wasn't going to do it anymore after The Rise of Skywalker, so this is an absolute surprise / wonderful gift we are being given from the 90-year-old composer that not only has done Star Wars, but as everyone knows, has done basically everyone's favorite themes from everything. This just makes me so happy, and I love that they're letting him do the themes of these characters that he's so connected to, that he's created kind of like the persona of these characters with the themes that he's made originally for them. I'm just so excited that he's coming back, and I can't wait to like cry to this music because it's going to be absolutely beautiful because everything he does is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just love that. This is one of those stories that kind of went around Twitter that people were like, oh, this may be happening. And then immediately when it got confirmed, I was just like, for once, I'm pumped about what's being said on Twitter. Like, I'm excited about the rumors people have. Because sometimes people put out these rumors that you're like, what? I would hate to see this. Or this sounds crazy. But this is definitely one of the ones that I had my fingers crossed when I saw it. So
Star Wars has like a couple of just if everyone's like fighting like in Mean Girls when they're all like tearing each other apart like jungle animals, there's like 2 or 3 things that would make everyone stop and be like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's John Williams coming back to do stuff, Frank Oz coming back to do stuff, and maybe like Mark Hamill or something. There's like only a couple things.
Dave
or George
Filoni.
Lucas making an appearance somewhere or something, but
seemingly Bryce Dallas Howard has made it into that.
Apparently of late, yeah, but I'm turning.
You know what it's like actually if we're gonna stay on Mean Girls, it's where Lindsay Lohan's on the stage with the tiara, like that's Star Wars fans, and they're breaking up the tiara and handing it out to the certain pieces to people, and it's like one for John Williams.
I'm thinking of things that could be considered that, and I'm almost like, man, we should save them and do like a Kessel run of things that no matter how bad it gets, Star Wars fans always can rely on blank. We haven't
done a Kessel run in a while, so
will probably be something that everybody agrees is pretty good.
Yeah.
Or how about the things that people always hate?
Yeah.
Somehow Palpatine has returned.
But John, I'll also say this too. This is kind of interesting, as we know, if you know your Star Wars history, he originally created a theme for Obi-Wan, and it didn't get used. I mean, it got used, but it wasn't used as the theme for Obi-Wan. It was kind of repurposed as this other type of story or other element in the score, and now has kind of become known as the Force theme. It's like anytime you ever are connected to the Force in the movie or the Force is present, you're gonna hear that music. So it's kind of interesting that what he originally visioned for Obi-Wan probably ultimately became one of the stronger themes of Star Wars. So if he's revisiting it, he has a lot to say about that character.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that was Obi-Wan's theme, because the biggest usage of that in the first movie is Luke looking at the setting suns.
But I think it was before, right? Like, I think you wrote it to be Obi-Wan's theme, but it seemed more useful there. So
I don't
when
know.
the final release came out, it was like, oh, well, that's not Obi-Wan's theme. But I think it was
maybe.
originally written in his head as Obi-Wan's theme, right?
Oh, interesting. I don't know that. I'm not
It
sure.
says it was ultimately repurposed and is currently known as the Force theme.
That could have been our writer just saying that. I don't know.
But I think that is your writer saying that, but I'm thinking that's based on the story. Yeah.
I
do
know
feel
that,
like John
so
Williams
that's
probably
interesting.
is connected to Obi-Wan because they kind of look alike. Could you imagine he watches the movie and he's like, this is my guy?
Yeah. I mean, Obi-Wan is just, it's so interesting because it's like when a popular band, like the singer dies and they get a new singer and they become just as big. That's what's going on with Ewan McGregor right now. Like, he is just as much Obi-Wan as Alec Guinness, and for some people more so because he's played him more.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the first always carries more weight for the less time they spent. So it's kind of even to me. But it's just one of those things where it's been this perfect ride and this perfect journey, and he's at the exact age he should be to be playing this role. Granted, he looks great for his age.
Right.
But they'll scuff him up and make sure he looks how he needs to look. But back to, John Williams coming back, this is... It's just a feel good thing. It's a warm chocolate chip cookie on Christmas Eve. Hearing John Williams coming back to Star Wars, no matter how bad you're feeling about anything, the fact that he's 90, like Lacey said, and still doing this, and he's doing Indiana Jones too, Indiana Jones 5. He's doing a Spielberg thing. Like, sometimes, no joke, like, I feel too tired. I'm in my late 30s and I'm too tired to listen to music, and this guy's 90 writing it and scoring it, and it's just. He is an inspiration for that alone. Just like, yeah, I'm 90. I'm not done yet. It's a number. I may drop dead tomorrow, but I'm not going to stop doing what I love. And I absolutely love that about this guy. And everything you hear and see about John Williams is that he is this humble, sweet, good man. The most accomplished major movie composer ever. And you wouldn't know it. In how he speaks. Now he's not one of those like fake humble people who's like, oh, I'm not that good. I think he understands his talent and how good he is, but how he carries himself is with such class and stuff like that. So the whole package of him just coming back, and the fact that he didn't just write this, he also recorded it. He conducted this theme. I'm not positive whether or not he conducted the solo theme. I'd like to think that he did.
He did.
But
I think there's a video of him doing it.
He conducted the theme too. That's
I'm pretty
good,
sure.
because I wasn't positive on that. So the fact that he's still
one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good. Because the fact that he's still conducting it shows that he really wants to make sure it's his mark on this thing. Because then they could take it, the organic track, and use that in other places forever.
Right.
So I think that's really important. And the last point I think might be the most important for me. And I know James, you and I got into it a little bit last week when I said this, but. About this show, like really needing to be a hit with fans and needing to like be good. And I think this is one of those things where Lucasfilm is not trying to reinvent the wheel or experiment or take chances. They are going classic on this. What works, we're putting into this show, and getting John Williams to create the nucleus of the score, to which their actual full composer will branch off of this and weave this theme into things and out, use the classic themes as well. I think it's just a sign that they're like, this has to be special. This has to be classic. We have to get it right. Whereas Boba Fett and stuff, I didn't really love the music for the Book of Boba Fett. I'll admit that. Not even just the theme. A lot of the music from the show isn't very memorable to me. Whereas, and they wanted to take chances on that, and I think that's fine. I think I'm leaning more towards Star Wars needs to be more classical music, and like the stuff they did with Rogue One with Michael Giacchino is like the stuff that they should be doing for Star Wars. And the fact that they brought John Williams in for this, to me, gives me more confidence that they're really cherishing and treating this Obi-Wan series with serious gloves here, and they want to make sure they get it right. Like they say with a white glove client type of thing. So that gives me a lot of hope, and it makes me more excited. We're going to hear new John Williams music in 2022. Just that's all we need to really think about, and that's incredible for
Imagine
Star
if he
Wars,
conducts it at Celebration.
Oh God!
Like if they,
I mean, he's been there before. He might.
Yeah, that's true.
I know, and he lives out there, right? So
Yep.
Yeah, it's true.
he just takes an Uber over.
One thing you were saying about it needing to be classic is that kind of makes me feel like they're aware that this show has to be the same as The Force Awakens. We're bringing it back. It has to be reminiscent of what people like about Star Wars. And after we've landed that, then we can take our steps elsewhere. You know what I mean? Mandalorian and Boba Fett have already kind of stepped a little bit, but when it comes to Kenobi, they're probably aware that the best way to manage that is how they manage The Force Awakens, which is like kind of...
That's true.
And you might get some criticism from that, like, oh, I wanted something cool, and it was just like classic Kenobi, and that's it. But I think most people are going to be happy with it, right?
And imagine he like weaves just a little bit of like Duel of the Fates into it, very subtly or something.
I don't think it's going to be subtle. I think that's going to happen when Anakin shows up.
Oh, but I think that'll happen. But in terms of the track of the main theme,
I definitely think that's going to be in there. That's the big story point, is that they're going to meet up again.
Right. I think what you're saying is in the show.
No. In the theme of the show, they're going to have a point where that is played, because the main story point is that he eventually sees Anakin again.
It'll be like its own thing, and it shows like Obi-Wan or whatever.
Boba
but when the
Fett,
logo comes up, it'll be like dun 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 or something,
Right.
and it'll just be like
thing.
very clear, like it's there.
Oh, okay.
I'm agreeing with you, John. I'm saying 100% they're going to do that.
Okay.
Yes. John is like so ready to just argue tonight.
No, I just want to make sure the things I'm saying are being like understood, because
yes, they are.
Okay.
Because you got to worry about all those tweets.
James, what do you think about this story?
About John Williams?
Yeah.
It made sense to me. Like when they said it would happen, I was like, oh, I mean that's a get. Like that's bigger than I thought they were gonna do, and I expected to see.
That's a get. John Williams is a get.
I mean, it is. Look, hey,
no, we know, but it's like
let's wedge this into the next story, because that's the kind of thing. Is like,
I actually was gonna ask you, how do you feel that it's not Giacchino?
Oh,
for the next story.
So the thing is, like, let's just move on to the next story, because what's true is John is interestingly kind of paralleled here when it says Star Wars Andor signs Nicholas Britell as the main composer, right? So it's like, oh, okay, cool, that news came in, and then you're like, well, Andor's very heavily connected to Rogue One, and we got Michael Giacchino doing that score, and it was great, and people really liked it, and he's up there as one of like the big names in Hollywood. So it was like, it almost seems like kind of a letdown to be like, oh, we're not getting him. You know, and
you
what I mean?
like his the best. We talk about it all the time that you love Rogue One.
I lean towards his stuff in all movies. Like I have become a fan of like all the movies that he's done, and I'm starting. I don't feel like it's very often that you put composers in like your Hollywood all-time favorites, directors and stuff like that. Easy, actors obviously, but composers don't really make that list. John Williams is one of them, and for me, Michael Giacchino is getting there as well. What is interesting though is that this particular pick was again, to use that word, is like a get for me. Because I was
just laughing that you said John Williams was a get.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't watch Succession, but I know that people love that theme, and I think it's good. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool and creative, and it's a good song, very iconic. And I've looked him up to be like, if we ever ask the question of who would you like to score this thing or that thing, I've almost thought, like, hey, give this person a shot at Star Wars, because they've obviously proved themselves to have iconic music. And so when I saw that, like, my most anticipated project, they tagged this person, someone that I've already looked into, to be like, give this guy a shot at Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, that's good news. Would I rather it be Michael? Yes. But, kind of similar to the John Williams thing, I think it's very likely that, I mean, who knows? But like, it's possible that Michael could come back, do the main theme for Andor,
right,
and then let Nicholas take the rest of the show. Book of Boba Fett did that. We're clearly getting that in Kenobi. So it's like maybe we have a couple of these main composers come in, do their thing, and then let other people step into Star Wars loosely by taking that main theme and expanding it to the rest of the show.
Well, and one thing to remember is our interview with John Powell. Like he gave us like the firsthand sort of experience of working with John Williams and how accessible John Williams made himself to John Powell for advice and like, what do you think about this? And like he was very giving and that sort of thing, collaborative. So we will probably get the same thing with whoever composes Kenobi with John Williams. So that's
and this as well, like Nicholas Britell doing very well right now, but if he had the opportunity to work with Michael, it'd be like, this is nuts. Like that would be amazing and so awesome of an experience for him as well. So it's like there can only be good things from that. So it's almost like I'm putting the prediction out there that Michael Giacchino ends up doing the main theme for Andor. It seems there's a precedent for that. But right now, gosh darn, we're stuck with probably the most popular television music theme in the last 5 years, easy, So it's like this person obviously does a lot of really good work and in making iconic music. So it's like, go for it. Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm very excited. So are we
in that story now? We're in there?
Yeah.
In the mix. Okay.
John's like, nice... I hate this pick. Get rid of this guy.
No, John's the Succession guy.
Oh my God. I love the Succession theme. And then I listened to like, as soon as I heard he was booked for this, I listened to like tracks from Moonlight, Vice, other stuff, and he's
Don't
won
Look
like
Up
awards.
Was good.
Yeah, he's won awards like Composer of the Year for TV and film for Succession and Vice for film in 2019. He's very accomplished. He has a very, very classical sound, like almost like more traditional classic than John Williams, if that makes sense. And I'm curious to see how he weaves his style into, like you said, James, what we know as the Rogue One sound, if they're going to keep that cohesiveness because it's surrounding Cassian. Or because it happens before Rogue One, are we not going to get similar themes that Giacchino used when Cassian went through certain character arcs and stuff? Like, is it going to be, because it's predated, maybe not as tied in? Because like with Solo and stuff, I don't know that they did a lot of callbacks. Not that Han had a theme, Han and Leia had a theme.
Yeah.
But I'm with you though. If they got Giacchino to like work with him, I freaking love both of them. I think Giacchino's amazing. So
and
I think
he
this
did
is a good
retweet
pick.
Star Wars Newsnet story. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Who did?
Giacchino.
Giacchino did?
Yeah.
What?
This story.
When?
Yeah,
this exact story,
when we
John.
tweeted it, and when we like did we didn't. It's not an exclusive. When we put the story
John, are you
out,
a part of the?
He
Star
quote
Wars
tweeted it
Newsnet
with all
team?
hands.
Oh, I didn't see that. No,
Yeah.
I didn't. No, wow, that's been crazy. But
I'm surprised you didn't bring it up. Now I know why. I was like, how did he not lead with that?
No, I'm trying to do less and less focus on Twitter, but
I'm just saying from a Star Wars Newsnet perspective.
No,
that's
it's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, and
yeah,
I don't know.
I saw it because I follow him on Twitter, and I was like, wait a minute, that's our story that he quote tweeted. So I sent it to the group and saw a couple
James
of
was
people.
geeking.
I'm like, what? That's awesome.
Oh, when did you send that? I'm bummed I missed that.
A couple nights ago.
Geeking.
The other thing too is like this is a classical score, so we went different directions with Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, and maybe that's like the Favreau sort of verse, and
I don't think you can go a different direction with this. It's Obi-Wan. It's people are having a certain expectation when they go into this.
I don't like to be narrow-minded with stuff.
Oh, sorry, Andor.
I try to be open-minded, but with Star Wars, I think with
that's
Star Wars, it works best with classical music for me. So
because
I like that they're doing that.
To me, the reason those two shows would be different is because there was no precedent for Mandalorian. And if there was a precedent for Book of Boba Fett, no, I was gonna say Mandalore.
Oh,
there was no precedent for The Mandalorian, and if there was a precedent for Book of Boba Fett, it's Mandalorian. So the music was like fine to do whatever you wanted, but in this two cases with Kenobi and Andor, the precedent is the movies. Like we've already
have like nominated tracks, like award nominated tracks,
and they just have a certain vibe. Like when I think of Rogue One, I think of that music being associated with the character of Andor. Also, the same for Solo. Solo had a very cinematic soundtrack because it was based on the movies that we already had with Solo. That character Solo.
Yeah.
But these other, like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and stuff, I know he's in the movies, but you know what I mean. It's like it was kind of this own world that was a little bit separate, and they could be separate.
Random note: Han Solo definitely sounds like Star Wars and Indiana Jones had a baby.
Yeah, I think so, I like the Solo soundtrack, but I actually think the main theme, number one, I think it gets used too often in the score. I think it's mixed in too often. And the one little twist to it too is I think it sounds a little video gamey, like Uncharted or something.
Oh, really?
No,
I just think it sounds like Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
No, for sure, but I like it almost feels yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it just the dun 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 dun, it feels very in your face with that.
Interesting. This is the first I'm hearing of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know if I ever said that.
Theme park take doesn't seem so spicy, does it?
Haha, you've been kicked out too.
I love the Solo soundtrack. I disagree with you.
I like the Solo soundtrack.
He didn't say he didn't like it. He was just saying what he noticed about it.
Yeah, so I feel like you could put on almost any track, even the extended version, and somewhere in there they're going to mix in that theme. And I was like, I think it's a little too bled in. Whereas Rogue One didn't really seem to, it occasionally made it, but it wasn't like every track felt like it had.
You're also on record saying the Rogue One score is better than The Last Jedi, so.
I'm not afraid of that one going there. I'm absolutely standing my ground on that
that's what I'm just saying.
I would actually say that too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would say Rogue One's better than Last Jedi.
That's an older take, but the thing was, for me, was I said there was The Force Awakens, and that's undeniably the best.
Right, with Rey, yeah.
And then, because you had all these new themes, but then 8 and 9 didn't really felt like they weren't giving you anything new. It was the same themes again and again, and I was like,
I would argue Solo's better than Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, the Rise of Skywalker score is really good.
I think Solo's better than Rise of Skywalker.
It would be interesting to
it feels like a best
these,
hits.
But yeah. Like not revisit, like listen to them, but revisit them in the sense of the podcast.
Talk about them.
I like them all so much. I feel like I like whatever one I'm listening to in that moment. I'm like, no, wait, this is the one.
Like the one I listened to the most.
Positive
well, it's
right
Rogue
now.
One, but then
like
Solo
really
after that. More so than any other of the sequels.
Yeah.
Hey, we got other stories though, and we want to talk a little bit like way out in left field. Not The Mandalorian, no precedent. This is way out there.
Outer Rim.
Yeah, and this is just a rumor too, so it's not like it was something reported, but there is kind of this thing, if you're paying attention to like Star Wars leaks and rumors and things like that, that there's this unannounced Star Wars series that that's just kind of floating around, and there were a lot of casting details that kind of surfaced recently, and we could go through them. I don't think you need to know them. The gist of what we're looking at, though, is a group of kids based on the project title. It seems like it's a reference to a Simpsons episode. Grammar Rodeo was what it was, and in the Simpsons episode, it's a bunch of kids, and they were like put on this mysterious kind of adventure thing. So all of it seems to line up as it's like a Stranger Things, Harry Potter, anything you want to say with like a group of young kids. But the most interesting thing about it, is that it seems like it's connected to the High Republic. That's the time frame that we're talking here. So if they are going to do a series, then we're talking about the second, but possibly first show that's truly set in the High Republic. So it's kind of interesting, and it seems fairly legitimate what we're seeing right now. So I'm going to go to John on this one first. What were your thoughts about this? Like, is this a story for you? Is this hearsay? What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, I like the Goonies. I like Stranger Things. I like those sort of coming of age stories. Because I grew up in a neighborhood when I was younger on Long Island where you take your bikes and you go somewhere with your friends and try to get in a little bit of trouble, and those are relatable stories for kids, and I think that's a good thing to get to make things to get the next generation of kids into Star Wars. I think that's important. I think that means a lot to George Lucas. He always meant it for that sort of story for kids to be able to use as a guide of like how to do right versus wrong. So I think that's cool. It does seem very Stranger Things to me, and that would make sense because Stranger Things is like just this absurdly massive hit. It's like the Beatles of Netflix. It's crazy how people are so hyped
until
on
Squid
it.
Game.
Right, Squid Game, yeah.
I finally
hopefully
watched
they don't make
the Squid Games.
They make a Star Wars
James,
Squid Game.
welcome
Oh, you watched
to
it?
the current year. Pop culture.
I think they're making more of that too. But
They called it the Squid Game universe. It's going to be a universe of itself, cinematic.
Everything's a universe.
The SQU? No, the SGU. Yeah.
Yeah, the SGU. The head of Netflix was like, we're just getting started of the Squid Game universe. And everyone was
I like
what?
SQU better because it's like the first three letters of squid too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they'll do a multiverse. And there'll be like a bunch of different squids. Yeah. So back to this.
Let's just talk about Squid Game instead.
4, 11, and 12-year-olds, and then a male who's between 30 and 50. That's like the exact cast of
Hopper.
Stranger Things. Yeah.
They were like, look, we need a Squid Game. We need a Stranger Things show.
Yeah.
Here are the characters. Just redo that.
I think it's like fine. 5 Goonies and a chunk.
Yeah.
Or no, not a chunk. What's his name? Chunk?
Sloth.
Sloth. That's what I'm thinking of.
You were close.
Rocky Road.
Yeah, that guy.
No, I think this is fine if it's true. I remember when the High Republic was being put out, they said it was just going to be books, but we all kind of knew that they would have to expand this. So I find that interesting. Did they say, James? Does it say whether it was live action or animated? I'm not positive on that.
I assumed live action.
It's live action.
Because they were casting, which I know you could cast a voice, but it seemed to me
kids,
like when you were reading when I was reading the casting thing, it seemed
true.
like
the
they were looking for
like
physical
live action. Yeah. So yeah, if production is starting in June, we should be finding out some legitimate info about this. Hopefully soon. But it's very curious that is something that might be happening. There's another rumored movie that's being created for 2024 now, and yet here we are, still nothing on like announced stuff like Lando and that sort of thing. So I'm curious if they shifted things up, especially Rangers of the New Republic got kind of put on the shelf. So a lot of things in the mix. But this would be a good way for people who don't keep up or don't really read the High Republic stuff to get a taste of that era, and maybe those people will then say, I like this, now I'll dip into the books or something like that, as a springboard. So this all seems like pretty cool stuff to me. Like I said, I like these types of stories. It makes me remember being a kid. Riding the bicycle around with some pals. So if it's that, then sometimes that's all it needs to be with Star Wars. So it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Lacey, thoughts on the rumored show?
I'm just thinking about Squid Game. The show could be Squid Game. This is exciting.
So all these kids are going to try to kill each other?
No, that'd be terrible. Oh my gosh. I think this is exciting for
cut
kids.
The pastry.
Yeah, I think when you look at Star Wars, it's meant for kids, it's meant for families, and a lot of the stuff lately has definitely skewed more adult, like Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian. Yeah, there's Grogu, Baby Yoda and stuff, but even then it's like there's kind of deeper themes there and more stuff for adults. So this would definitely be cool, and like John said, Stranger Things is like a massive hit. I think it's a little past its hitness, which someone's gonna get mad at me for that. I
never finished season 3.
Yeah, it's just kind of it was there, it was a hit, and now we've moved on. But I don't think the kind of grouping of kids will ever go away. Like, that's always going to be cool. Like Goonies, like we said, Stranger Things, stuff like that. The newest Ghostbusters movies, which I finally saw, like that group of kids getting into trouble is always just a really relatable story. I know for me growing up, I didn't have like a ton of friends. So like seeing movies like this, I was like, oh man, group of kids running around. That's so awesome. Dream, you know? That'd be great. I really enjoyed how they actually do have a listing for a character that's non-binary, so there is some representation here of all different backgrounds and experiences for kids to relate to. I know that's a big thing for not only us as fans, but you know, kids need to see themselves represented on screen, so that's really good. And I'm sure people are going to be really pumped about that. The other thing is, this is kind of being pitched at, obviously as a rumor, but as a lighter side to the High Republic compared to like Acolyte, which might be on more the darker end. Like I was saying, like skewing more adult. So it might complement that a little bit better. So that Disney isn't just pushing all this like adult killing, death. You know, we get to have a little bit of fun here and there, sure. Which I'm hoping, you know, that's what makes Star Wars so great, are those comedic relief moments, is the BB-8, the R2-D2, C-3PO. And I feel like some of the best moments in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, for me at least, were those happy, joyful moments that you don't always get. I feel like I'm more heartbroken lately with Star Wars than like joyfully happy. So this is something that seems like it would be just like a really fun ride the whole time.
Yeah. The interesting thing too that I thought was, and I kind of said this when I was announcing the story too.
Right.
We don't really know how much the Acolyte is going to be connected to the High Republic, because the date is like very clearly the end of the High Republic. So I don't really know that if that show comes first, that people will still really feel like that was like, oh, what is this High Republic thing? Like we might hear the name a couple times, but it might just be kind of like an introductory thing, because that's not going to feel like what the books have set up at all. So my thought was that if this show exists, having kids be your main lead for it, it could work as like an introduction to this for the mainstream audience. Right. And then those kids can grow older and they can continue to tell those stories and build on that world, and will feel like just the same way as we got like young Mark Hamill, young Carrie Fisher, and then now they've grown old, like the High Republic will have become something that we felt like we grew up with it as well, kind of thing.
Sure.
So I feel like starting off High Republic stories in live action with kids is probably a good move, because it will speak more to the younger audiences than it will the adults.
Yeah, it might be their Star Wars.
Connect with like Avar Kriss or something, you know?
Like, you know, the sequel trilogy is someone's Star Wars. The prequels are someone's Star Wars. This could be theirs. That'd be cool.
And also, who knows too, like maybe these kids are the younger version of Avar Kriss and Stellan Gios and stuff like that. Like we don't know that they're setting it at a specific time to introduce us to those characters. And if you want to know how they turn out, you got to read our books. John's frowning right now. But
what are you talking about? Why do you do this every time?
He's joking.
Yeah, they don't know that. They think, oh, they're best friends. He must know that he hates all these books.
Okay,
Get out
audio
of here.
listeners.
No,
He's joking.
I was saying in reference to, if you want to know more about this, you got to buy our product.
Oh, also joking about that.
Anyway, the show, I hope it happens. It seems like it could be a really cool thing, but right now it's just a rumor. And we also wanted to talk about this. This is another interesting little piece of Star Wars news here. If you saw last week, the Old Republic video game has a new expansion called The Legacy of the Sith, and it was a big thing. They did like this stream to when the video was going to premiere and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I mean, it's Legends, you know, and I don't pay as close of attention to that, but I'm always interested to see like what they come up with, because these cinematics and stuff are just all really cool. I love them. And I watched this thing, and then I was like, man, that was really awesome. And then like a few hours later, I'm seeing on Twitter people congratulating a friend of mine, you know, a friend of the podcast, Alex Backus from the Black Series Rebels, who wrote it,
well
the whole
done,
thing.
Alex.
Yeah, it was nuts. And you know,
they do the snaps over there.
Yeah, they do the snaps.
Oh, they do.
And it was just crazy.
Oh, like, so minty fresh.
Yeah,
that was very minty and fresh.
Yeah. I wrote him and I was like, dude, so what? Like, how did this happen? And he's like, yeah, and he's giving me all these details and stuff like, all these personal details like, oh, the character's named this. I created that Jedi. She's named this for this reason and stuff. And I'm just like, that is just so awesome. And
it just reminds me that everyone should celebrate other successes. We all succeed.
Yeah. But shout out to him and more success in the future. Like maybe this is just the door for him to continue to write more Star Wars and even bigger properties. Like we might be seeing, someday down the line, he's writing one of these live action TV shows or something. That'd
Insane.
Be awesome. One last really quick thing
Alex.
too. Yeah.
Way to go, Alex.
Way to go.
Minty fresh.
One last thing, just really quickly to wrap up the Resistance report, is that we got our first official synopsis. That was the word I was looking for the Obi-Wan Kenobi comic. And it seems very heavily set on what I think a lot of the fans are expecting out of the show. And I'm glad that the comic is going to give you that. And it almost feels a little bit like, hey, the show's not going to do what you've asked for, but we have this other thing to showcase that Obi-Wan is very lonely and meditative and diving into the Force and his trauma and other things like that and all the things in his past. Like, I think that this comic is going to be that story for the people who were maybe hoping the Kenobi show would be that. But I'm glad that they're doing it this way and letting the Disney Plus show be what it's going to be. But I didn't know if you guys have any quick thoughts on the synopsis for the Kenobi, comic series that's coming out.
Not really. I'm just pumped that, like you said, that's not what we're getting with the show. I'm sure we'll get a little of that, but that's not the priority of the show.
It seemed to me like an answer to, what I've heard for a long time, like, this is what the Kenobi show needs to be. And I'm like, that would be nuts. Why would they do that? That would be so slow burn. It's like, it's not that it wouldn't be good, but
and
it's
obvious.
It's not going to pull in Disney Plus audiences and stuff. So I'm glad that they're still saying that was Obi-Wan. Like, Obi-Wan does do these things. This happened in his life, but it's not going to be the focus of our show. John, are you on the same page for that?
Yeah, I did have concerns of them going to this like depressed state in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and I'm hoping that they're not. So maybe this is a way for fans to get that, like you said.
The outlet, yeah. All right, well, that's it for a Resistance report this week. We do want to get to our next section, though, because first of all, it's awesome to do the Patreon pod race, but also we got some great questions at the end, so stick around. Lacey, what's up?
All right, guys, it's time for the Patreon pod race. So there are lots of ways you can support us. You can like this video, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss anything, because sometimes YouTube doesn't tell you when stuff gets posted. Yeah. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN and on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. Make sure to follow us there because we do a lot of contests and whatnot. With multiple chances to win. If you want more than that, you can head over to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Starting at $2 a month, you support us here and what we're doing, talking about Star Wars and geeking out with you guys with videos, weekly videos and mailings and Discord access and all this other stuff. And then it's just kind of helping support us leading into what's coming the rest of this year, which is crazy Star Wars stuff. So we're really pumped, with Celebration and everything, that you guys support us and let us do those awesome events. That being said, this is a part of the show that our generals and spice runners get to take part. So first, I want to thank those people. So thank you to our generals: Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Paul Olson, Oliver Lewis, Frank Grande, Darth Hurricane, John Charlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Nathan Shank, Danny, Mike Ramori. Mike. I'll get it next time. Matt Heath and Val Trishkoff, thank you guys so much as generals.
Who likes you better now, Mike?
And he still loves me. Spice Runners, David Provost, Neil Shaw, Double C Chris, Kendall Gelnar, Ryan Wara, Dave Hornack, Micah Harrison, and Thomas Hennessy. Thank you guys so much for keeping it spicy. Yeah. This week, we have General Matt Chitty, and I want to start off by saying happy birthday, Matt. It was your birthday
last
Friday, Matt. So this is coming out after your birthday. However, we still hope you had a wonderful day. And we really appreciate you being a part of the Resistance. I'm sure we, wished you a happy birthday like crazy in the Discord and whatnot. That being said, your question this week was, aside from Qui-Gon, what is one familiar character you would love to see make a surprise appearance in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? So, Matt, take it away.
Hi, guys. Thanks for posing me the question. Really had to think about this one, but for me, a special surprise cameo would have to be Tarkin. I love the Book of Boba Fett's put us in a place where pretty much anyone's possible. Palpatine, Jabba, Yoda. None of those would surprise me. I think we're at that stage where the galaxy is heavy on the Empire. That's going to play into Obi-Wan's guilt and PTSD. I think Tarkin's the perfect person to have as that figurehead of the Empire without overusing Vader. Similar to the Bad Batch, he can then pass that off to other subordinates. Also be an interesting upgrade after Rogue One. They can then utilise it again in Andor, perhaps. But yeah, thanks for all that you do, and thank you, TRB, and happy birthday, Lacey. Speak soon. Bye.
Nicely done, Matt. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes as well. It was also my birthday this past weekend.
Hey!
I'm old. Okay, John, what'd you think?
I was going to do, well, I was going to
Were
say
you going to
happy birthday
embarrass
before.
me?
Yeah, that's all right. Happy birthday, Lacey.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really like your answer, Matt. I'm a big Tarkin fan. I think what they did with Guy Henry in Rogue One was revolutionary. And now, like you say, with the technology they have, even just 5 years later, they can really give you a identical Tarkin. It was so good in Rogue One. And when you compare that to what they did with the Leia in Rogue One, like, they did a great job with the Tarkin. And if they could use this technology in addition to what they did then, it would be almost like scary. Like probably even better than the Luke thing. So I'm all for that. Minimize Vader, I agree. He wasn't in A New Hope a lot. So I think that's great. I think that's a good way to keep the Empire a big presence in the show. I think that's a fantastic answer, and RIP to the Razor Crest. But happy birthday, buddy. I know we hit you up probably in the chat, but I hope you had a great one. Thanks for repping us across the pond, man. You are such an awesome Star Wars fan, and you're such a nice guy, and I appreciate you choosing to support us at this level. Thanks, man.
Yeah, happy birthday, Lacey.
Thank you so much. But also happy birthday, Matt.
And happy birthday, Matt. Yeah. No, I like this pick as well. And I think just John might say this a little bit later, but I think we're aiming to have this a little bit even more of like a conversation next Thursday, right? A little bit tied into this, but it is interesting. That's a good pick. I think there's going to be an upgrade in technology, and the only thing that scares me is it being so obvious that there would be like a change. Like if they did this, then you go back and watch Rogue One and it would be like stark difference. But I don't think they even cared when it came to Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian. Like they were willing to be like, nope, that Luke's better than the old one, So I think they're willing to just grow and make every new version of a character around. And, theoretically, they already have the permission of the estate to use the likeness and such. So this actually makes a lot of sense. So it's a very good pick, very strong pick. And I'm almost starting to lean towards like likely pick, like Tarkin is the man at this time, working his way up. So coincidentally also Thrawn was around at this time too. So it's like kind of interesting and tricky. So, but yeah, good pick. And thanks for being a Spice Runner.
Matt, great pick. I think that's something that could be really cool in that series to see Tarkin again. I love your Razor Crest. Awesome. Very cool as well. I just really love that we're birthday buddies. It's so selfishly cool right now that I'm like kind of giddy about it. You're awesome. You have great hair. I've said that before. Way to go. We're now going to head to other people in the community. John?
I have great hair too.
Matt has really good hair.
I have a red sweatshirt.
Yeah. James, you have good hair too, James. Okay.
Yeah. So I was gonna say this now, but happy birthday, Lacey. Hope you had a wonderful birthday.
Thank you.
Did you do anything special as your first birthday as a mom? Anything different?
Oh my gosh, that's weird to say.
But true.
People always ask me like, "Do you feel different?" And I'm like, "Not really."
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really. I just hung out with family. That's what I did.
Very good.
Just hung out.
Very good.
Ate some cake. Had a good day.
The classics.
Thank you all for your happy birthday wishes on social media. Appreciate it. I tear up every year like a total loser sitting in my house. So thank you very much.
Saturday birthday though. That's nice. You get one of those every 7 years or whatever. So
yeah, my birthday's weird that it usually is the next day. So next year it will be Sunday, then it will be Monday, then it will be Tuesday, then it will be Wednesday.
That's every birthday.
I wonder what my
I don't think so. Is it? Year. Am I being dumb right now?
Wait, what did you say?
Lacey thought, for whatever reason, February 19th, she's like, it's so weird how the next year my birthday's on the next day of the week.
Is it really?
That's everyone, except a leap year, it gets you add 2 days. Are you seriously thought it was just that date? Like it was some sort of cosmic thing with the calendar? I don't know if we should give you an Ask the Resistance question after this. She's like, it's so weird. Last year my birthday was on a Friday, and then I looked at the 2023 calendar and it's on a Sunday. Like, what?
I just looked up mine, and coincidentally this year my birthday is going to be on Christmas, so that's cool.
What's he talking about?
I feel so dumb.
Oh, you should. Oh.
I had one of these moments the other day, but I can't even talk about what the topic was because it was just that dumb. I'm getting dumber in my old age.
Well, you could tell us. Was it with us?
No.
Oh.
Right. I'm just dumb.
You don't want to tell you.
Long story short,
the audience?
I'm just dumb. Not really.
All right. We all have those moments. I've had those where I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I just asked that. Like, you know, we all have that.
I win. I ask those questions all the time.
But we do have questions that aren't dumb, and I think there's 3 of them right here. So,
yes.
And this is a little bit longer of an episode, but this is sort of our makeup for not being. It's
the Lacey Gilliran birthday bonanza. Keep listening.
That's what it is. Yep, that's the title of the episode, actually, for the SEO. You know, everyone's looking up that birthday. That changes.
That changes every year.
The next
it's
day
the
of the
next
week every
day.
Year.
Does that really happen? I thought mine was like.
Watch out for that leap year, Lacey, because it'll get you.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
All right.
Oh,
so
geez.
DarthRosie is up first, and thanks for the question. They asked, there was a lot of talk about Boba being blocked out of his own show. Do you think Star Wars would benefit from shifting to naming their movies and series after periods of time versus character titles? No, not. I mean, I'll take this one. I think we'll each take one. But I would say no, not necessarily. I didn't really see Boba as being blocked out of his show. I think this series was always understood as an in-between series between seasons of The Mandalorian. So weaving Mando back in made sense. There was a lot of Boba Fett in this series. We've had 15 minutes of Boba Fett over 40 years before this, and now we have hours of Boba Fett. So I think that complaint was a little bit much, in my opinion. Yeah, I understand how people feel the way they feel, but I think if there's a show centered around somebody, it's okay to have it named after them, and maybe they're not a focal point of one episode or something. We've seen that for a lot of series over the years. You know, there's been episodes of MacGyver that didn't have MacGyver in it. You know, it's just sometimes that happens. Now, if they do that to Kenobi, big trouble, but I doubt they will. So that's my answer. I don't know.
Face that he just made.
I don't know what you think about that, but why? What's the matter?
James just made this face. It's like,
yeah, because you downplayed it a little bit. It was like you said it was like one episode. It's like, well, it was 2 episodes, 2 out of like 7, so almost like a third of the series. And then you're like, but if they do it to my boy, it's gonna go down. And I'm like, no, he was. What's the difference?
Well, the difference is Obi-Wan Kenobi is a main character. Boba Fett is not a main character. That's the difference.
But we're doing, okay.
Right?
I think the question is just themed around like, you're naming the show after this character and this character wasn't in it for X amount of time. So it's a problem if they do it to Kenobi, but not a problem if they do it to Mandalorian or something. You know, it's like, I don't think we're talking about the importance of the character necessarily. We're talking about the title and how it covers the character's story. No,
my hands are sweating from how dumb I am.
I'm gonna pop in after James gives his answer.
I'm just very non-precious about Kenobi, and John is apparently more precious about Kenobi than
James.
I thought.
So just for our audience understands, James hates everything about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep.
Anything about the character, hates it.
True. I tweet like Kenobi sucks hashtag like 3 times a day.
All the time. Yeah.
I did laugh at James's Super Bowl tweet that he was like, apparently Kenobi's the goat, but let's see what this hashtag's all about. And then it was actually goats, which I'm surprised we didn't even talk about that Disney did a whole ad about goats, and that's what we're getting.
With Aquafina.
Marvel fans got like full cinematic trailers and a poster and all this stuff, and they were like, but look at this stormtrooper dressed up goat.
When I tweeted that, I hadn't seen all the other Disney Plus ones, so I'm like literally trying to wrap my brain around what makes sense. Why is there an emoji of a goat in a stormtrooper outfit? And I'm trying to like connect that to everybody's top rumor, which is we're going to see a Kenobi trailer. And I'm like, the only connection I can come up with is they call Kenobi the goat. Like fans do that. So is Lucasfilm leaning into this? But then it turned out
let me get my soapbox out from under my desk. And then I'll tell you guys why they don't need you don't deserve a trailer or anything. Get out of here. All right. Next question.
I did have to laugh though that Disney saying they had the greatest of all time made it less cool when they say that stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Next question is by the Max Rebo Experience.
That's James, and I believe.
They asked James Bainey.
Not me.
No, James, our patron.
Yeah.
Well, the question is, why does Obi-Wan Kenobi stink? So maybe it's our James.
No, that's actually our patron, James. I'm not kidding.
I know. He changed his name on Patreon too. That's how I knew.
Yes.
But he, who's a big Max Rebo fan, I guess, asked who has a better chance of being the big bad, aka major villain, in the post-Episode 9 universe, Rey or Grogu? Who has a better chance? Lacey, you could take this one.
So I want to say neither because I don't think that's going to happen. And I know we've had this discussion in episodes before where James, both. Yes, you've pitched both. And I know, James, you did pitch the Grogu one. I remember specifically. I know we've discussed Rey going bad and how maybe she could have done in the sequel trilogy or whatever. But for the sake of this question, which is an interesting one, I'm going to say probably Grogu. I can't see Rey doing the whole bad thing again. I think we've been there, done that. So, yeah, probably Grogu. If we're going to do something that, like, he's the bad guy. How old is he going to be at that point, though? He's going to be, like, what, 80?
Yeah.
90?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
So, I guess, like, what does that convert to in
9
Yoda species? Like...
9-year-old.
Yeah, that's true. Because if Yoda was 900, he would be equivalent to about 9 or 90. If you like take every 100 years as a year or 10 years.
Interesting, but yeah, I would say Grogu probably. And I think James made the best pitch where he's like, he doesn't understand what his power is, you know, how strong he actually is. And that's what drives him to be more of the dark side. Whereas we've seen Jean Grey. Kind of temptation with Rey. I don't think we'll see that again. I think she's our hero moving forward. Again.
James, do you have any? Do you want to answer this one?
I could throw out my thoughts.
John, every Patreon video, John interrupts anytime I ask a question like this, and I'm like, John, stop. And then the time it happens to him, he has to now make a point of every question.
Well, the Patreon video is way more casual. That's for the patrons. That's the ham it up.
Get going, Hoey. You got one question left.
This is a perfect person to ask this question to James Bainey. Kylo 10 at Fulcrum Andor, the world famous Ashley who put James on the spot at Celebration Chicago. But
about
this time,
Kenobi, right?
Yes. She asked him why he doesn't like Kenobi.
She asked him that the other day too. It's like a consistent question.
So, but this time, and she didn't even know this was going to James, but that's how fate has it. She asked, to what extent do you think Ahsoka will be a Rebels sequel? So the series Ahsoka. Will that be the main plot of the show, or will there be something else going on? So James, what do you think? Do you think Ahsoka is in fact the de facto Rebels sequel? And then I'll give my thoughts after.
Yeah, that's fine. Because we're all cool with that. The interesting thing, I've thrown out this kind of theory before, is like Star Wars fans speculate based on what we know. So even the thing that I was talking about before with Obi-Wan is, I think like they're going to write a new story for Obi-Wan, but what do we think the story is? Well, we probably would write that he's going to be doing what we've imagined him to be doing for, 40 years or whatever. And every time there's a new character that has a mask on, we're always like, ooh, who could it be? And like, for some reason, just any new character in the entire universe, it could be, or it could be like one of the 200 characters we are aware of in the, that would make
Rey's
sense.
mom.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have to like put the box in because we only know what's in the box, and we're not like creative to go like outside of the box because only the people writing the show is what it is. Right now, my gut says, yes, it makes sense. It seems like they're leading in with Thrawn and some other stuff, and it seems like based on who they're casting, like, well, you have some Rebels characters coming in, and Rebels left off on a note that felt very like, we're going to finish this story later. So when does that story get finished? Now you're giving her own show, and it seems like you're casting people from Rebels. It just seems to tie in too well. But will there be something else going on? It's very likely. It's almost hard to bet against there's going to be this other thing that is the theme for the Ahsoka show, but it's hard to say what that is because we're not writing it. They could write anything they want. Right. Especially in this time frame too. Like, it's pretty open-ended to be whatever they want it to be. But I think that will themes from Rebels and some of those answers, or some of those questions and unresolved things get resolved in that show? Yes, I think it will be. But will we look back at the Ahsoka show as like, well, that was just a Rebels sequel? No, because I don't think it's going to have Hera in it. It's not going to have Kanan in it. It's going to be its own thing that is really truthfully about Ahsoka, or they would have called it something different.
Right. Good answer. Right.
Just
Family Feud it. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer.
Good yeah. Oh,
good answer. Good answer.
Not on the board.
Yeah. Survey says the show's over. So thank you to everybody for listening and watching. Being a part of TRB, we appreciate it very, very much. This is a pretty full episode, so we hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for just having joined us through the whole run of the Book of Boba Fett with the Mando Fan Show. That was a lot of fun. We'll definitely have more live streams coming in the future. So if you haven't had a chance to partake in those, think about that going forward. But just know that those things always end up on the podcast feeds as well and on our channel. But ultimately, we just want to thank everybody for supporting us and checking out that, as well as, of course, our main TRB episodes. Make sure you also do head to StarWarsNewsNet.com. I got the shirt on right now for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more.
I need one of those
shirts. You can
shirts.
find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, writing and editing at StarWarsNewsNet.com, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies, where we're doing our next episode. I think it comes out tomorrow on Speed, Keanu Reeves.
Wow.
Who a lot of people want in Star Wars, but I don't know. Maybe he missed his window, but I don't know. He seems like a great guy, though.
Window? You think he missed his window?
No, maybe not. You could be like 80 and be in Star Wars, I guess. Yeah. James, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, both at Myra Trunks.
All right. And another year wiser, Lacey Gillerin. How about you?
Would we say wiser?
Well, not after this episode, folks.
more like Budweiser. I don't even know what that means.
Everyone in the comments, just let Lacey know, since her birthday was on a Saturday this year, what day of the week it's going to be next year, so she knows.
The funny thing is when my sister's partner listens to this, he's going to tell my sister what I said. And I'm going to get a text from my sister being like, what are you doing? Because she has known every dumb thing I've ever said. And it will just add to the list of terrible things that I've said. Anyway, guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, hopefully not saying completely dumb things, at Lacey Gillerin.
Yes, and we'll be back on Thursday, where we're getting back into our normal Thursday routine. So the episode will come out Thursday morning, but we're going to have our discussion. And our discussion on Thursday is going to be a pretty cool one about the new visual effects and how it's going to really change the future of characters appearing in Star Wars and what we think about that. So I'm really excited to do that. But until then, enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you Thursday with another episode right here on the Resistance broadcast. And as always, we'll see you around, kids.